I ended up going on to the American Rosso show as a panel operator. Yeah, I did that for the next 5.5 years. And that was a really interesting time because we actually hit number one in that point. Wendy Harmer finished up, and we pretty much went straight to number one after that. Because that show at that time, Nova was all played out live, which I loved. You know, like as a jock, I enjoy that. I think it's part of the job. But it does mean that you have very limited time to edit things in Vox Pro, especially when you only ever have 2 ads in a row. We'd do something on air and then Rosso would sort of say, oh, can you just do a quick little edit of that? I want to play it back after the ads. I'm like, oh my God. Ad, I've got 15 seconds. I still have nightmares. I have anxiety dreams all the time about being in the studio and everything going wrong. And I think it stems from all of that, just trying to keep the show on air.
The radio dream, that's the funniest. I get them quite a bit as well when I've got something, and my other half is ex-radio as well. And so sometimes we'll just wake up, I had a radio dream last night. Okay, so what's looming? What have you got to do that you haven't done yet? You're on air and the song's running out. You don't have anything else queued. You don't have anything else to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And yeah, whenever
Shivers.
It's exactly the same. Whenever there's something stressful going on in my life, the radio dreams come back. On the American Rosso show, we had Duran Duran come in. They were on tour. And they came in live for a chat. Simon Le Bon was on the mic and I played their big intro, you know, it was a big music montage and that kind of thing. And I turned his mic on. He didn't realise that his mic was on and that he was on air live. And he goes, so what's the deal with this? In Australian radio, we can say words like f***ing, can't we?
Oh, man. Yeah.
And Rosso just calls a cucumber, goes, well, you just have. And Simon, for the next 5 minutes of the interview, was just standing there going, because in UK radio, language like that is an absolute no-no. Like, you just cannot do that at all. But I don't think anyone actually really heard it because the music bed was so loud, but we heard it in the studio. Suddenly, one day, I found Andrew Denton sitting in my office because he was coming to do the breakfast show and he was actually coming in and asking me about, you know, where he could find this, that, and the other thing. And Andrew Denton was a god to me. I'd watched his TV show. So I managed to sort of schmooze my way into working on that show when it started. I was probably there for the first 6 months or so, just mainly, I wasn't even being paid for most of it. I was just happy to be there, just doing little odds and ends and sort of helping out paneling occasionally and having a bit of fun. I really wanted to become the panel op on that show. Sideshow Michael Anderson was doing it.
Crazy hard worker, that man.
There's a reason why he wins every ACRA.
Yes.
And that was all going well until one day I took the show off air. And
what happened?
We were playing a pre-recorded interview with, at what at the time we didn't know was going to be one of the last ever interviews with Michael Hutchence. So that was being played out while Andrew was pre-recording something else in the live studio next door.
Yeah.
Dobbo came in to me in the other studio where I was paneling saying, mate, do you know how this interview ends? Have you listened to the end of it? And so I thought, oh, no, I haven't. I'll do that now. And the interview was playing out of CarTrack, which was the old touchscreen system that used to work with DCS. And it had a thing...
DCS.
Yeah, there's a flashback for you.
So much DOS prompt.
If you know what DCS is, it's probably time for a colonoscopy. It had a thing. I don't know if it only
resemble that remark.
I don't know if it only had one sound card or something like that, but if you tried to preview something else while another thing was playing, it would just kill everything. So I did that, and it stopped the interview going to air. And Richard Krusty Mortlock, who was the producer of the show, started screaming out at the top of his lungs, "We're off the air! We're off the air!" And I remember I hit the INXS song, and Dobbo was apoplectic. Like, the Denton show was still really new, and everyone was still getting to know each other. And, mate, you've got to go and apologise to Andrew. What were you doing? You know, and I was just seeing my radio career end in front of me. I was 19 years old and thought, this is it. I'll never work again. And ever since that day, whenever I run into Dave Gibson, which is a couple of times a year, he's a mate, the first thing he'll always say to me is, "We're off the air. We're off the air."
For more of this chat with Alex Dalrymple, look up the podcast Off Mic, Life After Radio, wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and YouTube.